Y&R spoilers reveal Victor's disgusting plan. It all started when Victor Newman received an important piece of information. The lives of those around him never seemed to lack drama, and this time, it was his son Kyle and his lover Claire who became the target of the revenge that Victor had secretly prepared. The change in the relationship between Claire and Kyle was not comfortable for Victor, and a dark plan was gradually taking shape, pushing everyone into a dangerous and intrigue-filled situation. Since Claire and Kyle began to get closer, their relationship has attracted Victor's attention, especially when Claire and Kyle began to consider living together. Although they had once considered living together as a premature idea, the development of their relationship made both of them feel the need to make a decision. However, this development was something that Victor could not accept. Victor and the dangerous plot. Victor Newman has always been known for his ability to control everything, and when he learns about the developments between Claire and Kyle, his anger flares. He cannot accept that his son would risk his life with someone he considers unworthy, especially when Claire is not accepted by him. Claire and Kyle's relationship has hit a major roadblock from the Abbott family, and Victor's opposition only adds to the tension. One day, after receiving an update on Claire and Kyle's relationship, Victor orders Audra Charles, one of his loyal allies, to put an emergency plan into action. Victor's goal is to make Claire mysteriously disappear, hiding her in a separate room to put pressure on Kyle. Things move quickly, and in a short time, Claire is kidnapped without anyone knowing. The mysterious disappearance. When Claire suddenly disappears without a trace, Kyle is left in a state of confusion. He can't believe that the person he loves could suddenly disappear like that. And in his mind, there's only one person who could be behind this incident: Victor Newman. Kyle's trust in the Abbott family is being tested, and he knows that whether he wants to or not, he must confront his powerful father to find out the truth. Victor, meanwhile, is not worried at all. He has created the perfect plan to keep Claire captive, and he knows that if he can control her, he will be able to manipulate Kyle and control everything to his will. But what Victor hasn't counted on is the power of Kyle's love for Claire. The race against time has begun, and Victor's plans are in danger of being ruined if Kyle doesn't give up. A tested relationship. After Claire's disappearance, Kyle has been searching for her relentlessly. He feels a sense of emptiness and pain at not being able to contact the woman he loves. When all his efforts seem to be in vain, Kyle decides to discuss with Claire the possibility of moving in together at the Abbott Manor, even though they had previously dismissed the idea. He believes that this will be a temporary solution, a place where they can be safe while the situation develops. But Claire is strongly opposed. She does not want to live with Kyle under Victor's supervision, and she believes that staying with Jack Abbott will only make things worse. Jack Abbott and the new troubles. Although Kyle wants to provide a safe solution for both of them, living with the Abbotts, especially during such a stressful time, will not only make Claire feel uncomfortable, but also incur further anger from Victor. Claire warned Kyle that this decision would only make things worse and push them into a never-ending war with Victor. Claire also explained that if they continued to live under the Abbott family's supervision, they would never be able to escape Victor's influence. Victor Newman, with his cold head and hateful heart, would never accept that Kyle and Claire could live a peaceful life together without his control. Once he realized that they were not listening, he would not hesitate to do anything to destroy that relationship, and his plans would become more and more brutal. As Claire and Kyle's plans seem to fall apart, no one can predict what will happen next. Claire and Kyle may face a difficult choice. Can they find a way to overcome Victor's control and rebuild their relationship? Or will they face the dangers and intrigues that Victor has in store for them? One thing is certain: their lives will never be the same. And when everything starts to fall apart, only their love can help them overcome all difficulties. But is love strong enough to stand against the power of Victor Newman? Every decision Claire makes has profound consequences, not only for her but also for those around her, especially Victor Newman. After a long time of being controlled by the Newman family, Claire finally decides to step out of Victor's shadow, stand up for herself and protect what she wants. However, this decision is not easy, and when confronting someone like Victor, every step must be carefully calculated. The inevitable journey. Despite her decision to live independently, Claire knows that there is a truth that she cannot hide forever. Her plan, deciding to move in with Kyle and enter a new phase in her life, will inevitably be discovered by Victor. And once Victor learns this information, Not only Claire but also Kyle will have to face the revenge of this powerful man. What Claire didn't fully anticipate was how she would face the challenges Victor presented. While she had thought she could keep this secret for long, the barriers and relationships within the Newman family did not allow her to do so. Victoria, Cole, and Nikki had all heard about Claire and Kyle's important decision. And clearly, in a family like the Newmans, privacy can never be kept secret for long. Claire's courage. Claire knew that she could no longer hide from this reality. Her maturity and desire for independence had made her determined to face Victor. Despite the fear and danger that always existed, she understood that moving in with Kyle was not only a step forward in their relationship, but also a declaration of war against Victor's control. Claire did not want to live in the shadow of decisions made by others. She has endured too long in the shadow of this powerful man, and now it is time for her to stand up for herself. This choice is not an easy one. Claire knows that Victor will never accept her relationship with Kyle, especially when they have decided to live together. However, she cannot live under that restraint forever. She wants to be free to decide her own life without being controlled by anyone. Unexpected help. Although Claire's decision is a major turning point in her life, she does not have to face Victor alone. Contrary to what Claire imagined, she unexpectedly receives help from some of the Newman family. None other than Victoria, the older sister who has always been strong and knows the price of confronting her father, has decided to stand by Claire. Victoria knows that Victor will never easily forgive Claire for standing up and deciding to live her own life. But she also knew that if she didn't help Claire now, the consequences would be even more dire. Although Victoria couldn't directly confront Victor the way Claire did, she knew that helping Claire would give her a chance to change her fate. In addition to Victoria, Cole and Nikki also knew about the plan, and they both agreed that now was the time to do something. However, each had their own perspective on helping Claire. Nikki was always worried about her son, but she also knew that if she did nothing, Claire would forever be bound to the Newman family. Cole saw that the relationship between Claire and Kyle was more than just a romantic one, but could also be an important step in changing the nature of the Newman family. Confronting Victor, Claire knew that she couldn't wait any longer. Even with the help of Victoria, Cole, and Nikki, eventually, facing Victor was something she couldn't avoid. She needed to tell Victor about her decision, knowing that it would not end well. But Claire could not live under the watchful eye of her powerful father, could not stay in a family where she felt like a pawn. With determination, Claire entered Victor's office, where he sat alone, the dim light from the desk lamp casting a shadow over his cold face. She knew that this conversation would not be the same. For the first time, Claire stood up straight and did not bow to Victor. "Victor," she began, her voice steady but also filled with worry. "I cannot continue to live in your shadow. Kyle and I have decided to live together. We are starting a new chapter in our lives and I cannot wait." Victor looked at her, his gaze unwavering. "Do you think you can do this without paying the price?" he asked, his voice cold as a knife. But this time, Claire did not tremble. She knew that if she did not do this, she would never be able to escape his control. With this decision, Claire and Kyle embark on a dangerous path. The battle is not only about love, but also about power and freedom. Although they have the help of friends in the Newman family, can they stand firm against Victor's revenge? And is Claire and Kyle's decision to live together really the right move? Their love will face unprecedented challenges. It is not simply a matter of a couple, but also a clash between love and power, between the desire for freedom and the control of the Newman family. Everything is on the verge of collapse and Claire and Kyle's lives will never be the same. A complicated battle between power and emotion. Since Claire decided to live with Kyle, things have begun to change in a way that no one in the Newman family could have expected. Although Claire and Kyle never really intended to do this when they first started, their determination and strong emotions have led them to make this decision. However, it is a decision that will put them in a war not only with each other but also with Claire's family, especially Victor Newman. Nikki courageously stands up. In a family where power and control are always the top priorities, no one can comfortably live as they please without facing the consequences. Nikki, who has always tried to maintain peace in the Newman family, cannot help but realize the seriousness of the situation when Claire decides to live with Kyle. Although Claire had announced that she would not be living in the Abbott residence, where Victor would be closely monitoring her, this decision did not ease Victor's worries. On the contrary, It only made the situation more tense. Nikki understood that in order to protect the people she loved, she had to stand up, even confront Victor, who would never accept rebellion in the family. A difficult conversation with Victor. Nikki could not remain silent forever. She understood that if she wanted to help Kyle and Claire, she had to step up and resolve the situation with Victor. Nikki knew that trying to convince Victor to accept Claire's decision would not be easy, but she also knew that if she did not act, things would only get worse. She decided to tell Victor about Claire and Kyle's decision to live together, hoping to convince him that Claire was mature enough to have her own opinions. Nikki felt that if Victor didn't know ahead of time, things could have gone downhill, with him blaming Kyle and making things worse. Nikki started a conversation with Victor in a private space where they could discuss things without being disturbed. "Victor, I know you won't like this," Nikki began, her voice soft but firm. "But Claire has decided to live with Kyle. It's her decision and she deserves the freedom to choose." Victor looked at Nikki, his eyes cold and guarded. "So you think I'll accept a decision like this?" he asked, his voice filled with doubt. "She's my daughter. How can I let her live her life without me in it?" Victor goes mad and the war begins. Although Nikki tries to explain and calm the situation, it is clear that Victor has no intention of accepting this decision. He is furious. And Victor's anger is not only directed at Claire but also his deep disappointment with Kyle, who he believes has pushed Claire into this situation. To Victor, this is not only his daughter's rebellion but also a challenge to his authority in the family. Victor cannot let this go easily. He begins to plan his revenge. And the first person he thinks of is Kyle. "Kyle," Victor says, his voice harsh, "you will pay for this. You have dragged Claire into a situation that I cannot stand by." And as always, Victor is never one to take things lightly. He begins to think of brutal plans to separate them. Audra and the separation mission. Victor is not simply angry. He had planned to separate Claire and Kyle, and he had an important card, Audra. Although Audra was a very cautious person, when Victor made threatening demands and promised an attractive deal, she had no choice but to comply. Victor began to put pressure on Audra, demanding that she break up Claire and Kyle immediately, not giving their love a chance to develop. Audra knew that this was not an easy task. However, with the severity that Victor imposed on her, Audra could not help but focus on her goal. "Either you do this right now, or I will terminate our agreement," Victor threatened, his voice cold and powerful. Audra felt a great pressure when faced with this request. She understood that if she failed to carry out this task successfully, she would lose everything. But she also knows that this job will not be as simple as Victor thinks, because Claire and Kyle's feelings are very strong. However, Audra must find a way to break this relationship, because her future and her deal with Victor depend on the outcome of this plan. The end is near. This battle will not be easy for anyone. Victor is determined to do everything to separate Claire and Kyle. But is their love strong enough to overcome the control of the Newman family? Their relationship is facing a big test, and even with Nikki's help, Victor and Audra's interference may be too much for them. Claire and Kyle's love will face dangers and intrigues they never imagined. And as Victor continues to push his agenda, will Claire and Kyle be able to overcome all obstacles to protect their love? Every decision they make will have a profound impact on the future, and they will face difficult choices as they decide whether to fight or to give up.